everybody? It's Stevie P from Milan Weekly Podcast. It's a very special midday, the local soccer show. We're going live with a fantastic guest. Guys, if you didn't catch Milan Weekly Podcast on Monday or Coast to Coast yesterday, please go ahead, subscribe to our channel, like us, and you'll also get this fantastic coverage on local soccer, which is the local soccer show brought to you by Evangelista Sports bi-weekly with fantastic guests talking everything grassroots soccer. Guys, we're going to shout out again Evangelista Sports. Thank you for all your support. If you're needing more soccer gear, that's the place to go. We call it the Mecca. Go to Saint Laurent Boulevard, have a coffee, have a cornetto, especially at lunchtime. You can have a couple of nice paninis as well and enjoy. But for today, guys, we have a very, very very interesting guest with a ton of experience. I'm excited to talk to him. It's Mr. Pat Raimondo, the head coach of Université de Montréal, les Carabins. Uh, let's go. We have Presidente also, a lunchtime experience with Presidente today. So he's in the background and he's going to get us started. So can't wait to bring on Pat. Welcome, a very special Milan Weekly Podcast because we just found out he's a Milanist and a local soccer show. Welcome to Mr. Pat Raimondo. Pat, welcome to the local soccer show.
Hey, Stevie. Nice to be on.
Thank you very much. I know you're very busy, and we're trying to accommodate. More likely, we're trying to accommodate Marcello's schedule because he's the president with all the millions and millions of people that wanna get a piece of him. But thank you for taking the time to join us. It's greatly appreciated.
My pleasure to be on.
Pat, like we talked about a little bit in backstage there, it's going to be two guys talking soccer. I already feel the love. I already feel the Milan connection. I know it's hard for you to wear a little bit the Carabin colors because they're Interist colors, but I think they've done you well. For people that don't know who you are, give us a little insight on where you grew up, how you started to play soccer, and what got you into the game.
I grew up in the East End. I grew up playing for Pompey. Which then I guess joined with Saint Michel and became Saint Michel Pompey. But in our time, our glory days, it was Pompey, the gold and blue. Started coaching at a very young age. I realized very young that I wouldn't play pro. I wasn't fast enough. I realized that very quickly. I wasn't technical enough, but I wasn't fast enough. And I started my coaching career very early. Been on the field for the last 30 years. Had a stint at Lac St. Louis, technical director there, assistant technical director. But what I'm passionate about is the field. And between Lakers, between Lac St. Louis, the regional selects, between Laval, between Carabin and McGill. I was at McGill for 7 years before coming to Montreal. I've been in Montreal here now for the past 23 years. And I'm a career coach. I've spent my life on the field at every age group, guys and girls. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love doing. I've done some coaching education too, but my true love is to teach on the field.
That's amazing. And just to go back on what you said, you realized quickly that, the love of soccer and playing soccer was not going to take you on a career path of pro. But what triggered you in regards to, hey, maybe I could take this love and I don't have the physical talent. And, myself, Pat, you can see me. I played as well. I was obviously not fast enough either. You can see my size. I wasn't fast as not just something in my vocabulary. But what triggered and said, you know what, maybe I could make a coaching career out of this?
Yeah. So what were the options, right? So refereeing? Well, no. no chance. I tried to whistle. So then I said, what I enjoy about coaching is very humbly know that We have kids for a small period, an important period of their life, and how can we inspire them to love the game, to be better players, to be better people, to love the game and continue involved in soccer for the next 30, 40, 50 years. And not that I want to build, I want to win now. And in 2 years, if my kid's not playing soccer, I don't care because I won. Like that, it was never about the trophies or the medals. It was never about, like, I always wanted to coach a little bit elite, but elite because I wanted kids that are committed to soccer. I wanted kids that were okay training 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it was just, how do you inspire them to fall in love with the most beautiful game in the world?
Yeah, and again, you hit, and I'm says we had never met and never spoke before, and it's something I talked to Marcello about, and I talked to the fellow coaches about, and I try to at least portray exactly what you said at my club. Where guys, we need to think about the development. That 75-cent medal that you're gonna win after a tournament, if we're sacrificing the development of the kids at important ages like 13 and 15 where you can play at the national and they can get some sort of exposure, I don't think we're doing the kids any good, and I don't think we're developing the coaches with the right mindset, right? And I get a lot of heat for that. I'm not the favorite person at Club de Soccer Rivière des Prairies, and I'm okay with that because again, talking to everybody around, I think most of the people are on the same page. It's just to be able to execute on what you're thinking about, right? It's very easy to get caught up. People are going to say, "Yeah, Steve, but you just posted on your social media that your kids U10 won two tournaments back to back." So guys, I was telling my wife this is like, it's fine, it's nice, but these kids put in a lot of work. Myself and Carmelo, who helps me coach and who's a coach as well. The practices we ran on our own, the mindset that we try to instill in these 10-year-olds, where development is the key. If we had to do a practice only left foot, we did a practice only left foot. It sucked for everybody who's not left-footed, but we had to, right? And again, that for me, that's my pleasure. The medal and the trophy is secondary. It's the kids having a good time, one, and two, getting better, and they have. So that was my journey, and I can relate to exactly what you just said. But you spoke about club level, right? So you went through different stages in your club level, and then ended up in university. Is there that much of a difference between the mindset at club level and the mindset at university?
There's good and bad everywhere. There's good and bad at every level. There's good and bad coaches. There's good and bad administrators. So that's similar everywhere. The difference, I wouldn't say a difference. At the university, I'm fortunate enough. I have older athletes, but are still, because they're still going to school, they're still in the mindset that they want to learn, they want to improve, they want knowledge. So coaching them is a little bit different because we have no hidden agendas. I want them to go to school, I want them to succeed in class, and I want them to have some fun on the field. Everything else will follow. For me, and it's important that you want to build winners, and to be a winner for me has nothing to do with the score of the game. A winner for me is somebody that I don't feel like going to practice, but I'm still going to go because my teammates are counting on me. A winner is I created the penalty shot, but I'm going to give it to my striker because he's suffering on confidence these
Yeah.
days. So we got a penalty shot. I'm not going to take it. I'll let him take it to get him going. Those are for me winners, like attitude that leads to winning. But winning again has nothing to do with the score because that'll be the same attitudes that are going to serve these kids in the boardroom, on the job site, in meetings, in job interviews. It's the same attitude that I think is going to help them.
And again, that's a part of the job, right? And I'm nowhere
Absolutely.
near the experience that you have, and and that's a bit of the frustrating part, right, Pat? So for me, I'm coaching out of just pure feeling of what I think I should be doing, right? No one's coming and say, "Look, Steve, you're not doing it well, or you're doing it well." uh, it's starting a bit. It's starting, and I'm lucky enough to have this show and friends that do coach and can give me like true, honest, constructive criticism. But like, there's a responsibility too, right? Because everybody says there's talent in youth soccer. There's talent in regards to the players, but the structure for coaching I find is lacking because of that. There's no mentorship. There's no, there's again, lucky enough to have people like you to come on my show, where I hope we can keep this connection, and I can ask you questions. But not everybody has this luxury. Where can Soccer Quebec improve in regards to developing good coaches?
So that's such an important question you're asking right now. And it's true, the majority of coaches, here are your balls, here are your pennies, cones, if you're lucky enough to get. And best of luck, we'll see you at the year-end party. Now it's a little bit better with CDCs, a little bit better in terms that you could feel like there's support because you go on a night and there's seven coaches, seven other coaches there, eight other coaches. I still don't think we have it exactly right with 20-minute ateliers. I think it's very difficult just to rotate, and like you don't really get to know your player. So I think CDC is maybe a step in the right direction, but it's still far from what it should be. So what's the true pathway of coaching? Because we do licensing certification really well, but that's become a business.
Yeah.
That's a huge business. And Canada, CONCACAF is a little bit late to the ball game, but some countries like Ireland have figured that out, that coaching education is a huge, huge business. Um, so then it comes back to mentorship, and it comes back to true mentorship. Mentorship is not that you see a guy once every 8 months for 20 minutes at a game and
Yeah.
he takes notes and he leaves. No, that's not true mentorship. Mentorship is being able to. I've been fortunate enough in my career, whether it's Valerio Gazzola, whether it was Dean Howie, whether it was Kostek. I've had Francis Millier for a little while. Sylvie Belleville also played a role there. But I was fortunate enough, like Val has been a true mentor to me. Kostek was a true mentor to me in the early years. He's not on the payroll. He's not, but they were always accessible, and they were always, and we always had conversations, always continue till these days, still have conversations. Sometimes I don't like what they have to say. Sometimes he spits some truth that sets me back. You say, like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah.
then when you reflect and you think and say, okay, there's part of what he's saying that's true. There's part of what he's saying that I need to work on. There's part of what I need to do. I'm fortunate here at the university too. We have 11 full-time coaches in different sports. So even though the technical part of the sports are different, but the coaching of the human being is the same. So
Yeah.
we share a lot of information, we exchange a lot, and it's. If I had to start my career over now, I'm not sure I would do it, man, because it's too hard. I don't know how current club coaches do it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you just I'll give you my example, right? So, in all honesty, I had no idea. I had started coaching maybe before I was married, so 10 years ago, and I was able to get one of the smaller licenses, an S7 or 3, and I didn't even know I had it. And then, of course, life came in, and kids and marriage, and I was not thinking about soccer. But once I had my kids, I wanted to give back. I said, if I'm going to be there, and I can contribute, I would do it. But I'm the type of guy, Pat, that I cannot just come there with the cones and the balls. Like, I want to be able to add and help, right? Will I be right all the time? No. Uh, but can I don't want to be a babysitter. And that was my true feeling of coming to the club, and the expectation of the club when I saw what CDC was, right? It was okay, the technicians will do the drill, and then you get the kids once a week on game night. Well, we know that CDC, like you said, one of the ones was the ateliers of 20 minutes is not enough. There's no way I'm going to know my players, and they're mixed up anyways, which, whether we like or not, that's what it is. And number two, once I set them up at 9 years old on a game field, there's absolutely no way they're gonna know where they have to go. And my goal there was to contribute back to the club, and after 3-4 games, give them some sort of report, just to be shut down and to say, but you don't know what you're talking about. This is the way we do it, right? And I was hurt by that, and not only hurt, I'm Calabrese, so I'm really hard headed. It lit a fire, right? And I said, okay, if we're gonna go this way, then I need to educate myself, and I started to reach out to contacts that I have, and get some sort of information before I spew out stuff that might not be true, right? And it's worked for me tremendously, because those coaches now, I look to them as mentors. They're not in my club, and it doesn't have to be in my club, but they are mentors that I look for in terms of constructive criticism and advice. But it's sad that it's sad that you're shut down just because you don't have a license. And now I'm going for my license. I'm accepted for the license C. I'm very proud to say that it was a journey, but it's not easy to navigate that, because there's a lot of stuff to do. Not a lot of people will have the patience to do that. How could they streamline this, Pat, to make it easier? Or is there a reason they don't want to make it easier?
Yeah, coaching education in Canada has been, I think we've gone through 3 reforms in the last 5 years, and I think another one is coming.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to figure it out. And when the national body is trying to figure it out, the provincial bodies are actually just catching up and trying to figure it out too. So how do you streamline it? I think it needs to get to a point where there's true mentorship. And I also think it needs to be to a point, like again, with no malintention, but I'm gonna like the majority of these coaching courses are given by people that don't coach or that haven't coached in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. What other discipline could a doctor be teaching another doctor that hasn't operated for 25 years? Can a chef who hasn't been in the kitchen for the last 5 years show what the next chef is? So I think that part needs to be redone a little bit. I think the part of mentorship, true mentorship, needs to be redone. And like anytime I get to, and the beauty of our sport is that we don't have an exact formula and exact science.
Yeah.
Baseball, you hit the ball, you need to run to the right 90 feet. Don't go to third base. You need to go to first base.
Here, yeah.
Volleyball, after 3, you need to go on the other side. It's an exact science. Ours is not. But for example, when I work with coaches, I just want to know the why. So you're playing at practice, you choose to play 4-on-4. Why? Why not 5-on-5 or 3-on-3? And if you can justify it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You want your kids to sprint 2 times 50 yards. Okay, that makes a 100-yard sprint. Good. Why not 10 times 10? You're still at your 100. So if you've thought about it and you can justify why you're doing something, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah. Why do you play with a joker, 4-on-4 with a joker? Why? If you can justify why you're doing it, I'm fine with it. If you play with a backline 3, well, why not 4? If you can tell me why, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hold the truth. Like nobody holds the truth.
Exactly.
But I want you to reflect on what you're doing.
Yeah,
so
it's important.
when your wife is chatting your grocery
Yeah.
list, you're thinking about your lineup. You're thinking about your practice. Like, what direction should the kids play? So here's a classic for me. Most teams, or a lot of teams, will warm up in this direction while the game is being played in this direction.
It's true.
But then why aren't you warming up in the direction of the game?
Yeah.
And if you say no, because I don't want to ruin the grass, I don't want to do this, I don't want to, that's your business. But I'm saying if we play like this, why would I warm up like this? So I move all my warm up to be in the direction of the game
I've
because the
never thought
parents will
about
be
that.
there, the stands will be there, the goals will be there, the play park will be there, the street will be there. And subconsciously, my players are taking information that might help, might not help, I don't know. But I want to put all the chances on my side.
Wow. That's amazing. I promise you, I will do that. I will videotape it and I will send it to you. I
There we
promise.
go.
I promise. Pat, another question. So I know we touched a little bit on the CDC, but there's a bigger envelope on top of that, which is at club level and the licensing program. So the licensing program came in. For those a little refresher, clubs are evaluated on certain criteria to get a national, provincial, regional license. There is some other below that. Uh, I'd like to pick your brain about the licensing program. One thing you like and one thing you don't like.
So again, being the practical guy that I am, so I did 40, 45 evaluations last year for the Federation on club licensing. So I was actually on the field, on the ground, and I traveled the province and I saw almost every region, 30, 40 clubs. So what I like from it, I I think the majority of clubs are trying to do a good job with the information they have, with the resources they have, with the content they have. I don't think any club is going out there to say, how can I set this up so that I give
It's
the
gonna
worst
fail.
experience
Yeah.
to my lines? I actually think they're trying to do a good job. But the bad thing is that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know what you're doing is no good. And you think it's good because you're comparing it to the club next door. But what you don't know is the club next door is also no good. So you're comparing no good to no good and you think you're both good. But
Yeah.
so it's how do we educate the people involved, the coaches involved, the parents involved? How do you help them to help their players? And I think generally people are trying to do the right thing. The parent that comes there on the Wednesday, 6 o'clock, rush home, had to stop at the grocery store, had to stop at the bank, get the kid fed, get the kid to the field, get their son to the field. Um, Hopefully change in the club colors. Hopefully they have at least a polo shirt and a tracksuit from the club and get on the field with those 10, 12 kids. I think his intention is good.
Yeah.
And now it's just how do we support him to say during 15 minutes or 20 minutes that you're with the kid, with that group, you need to like you need to use the kid's name. You need to be careful with your language. You need to reinforce positive behavior. You need to like there's so many things to do, and it's such an important role. But
Yeah.
we leave the parent, the coach, figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we need to provide more support.
No.
But then more
It's funny
support
that you
comes with
say.
more staff comes with more money. Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. No. No. It's okay. There was a little bit of lag, and maybe might be on my side, but the thing that I wanted to ask you is, you said you presented and you went and you evaluated, right? So I'm gonna say it just because again we're both being honest. But that evaluation, did you find it was a show? Did you find it was something too good to be true? Like it cannot be this way every single week? Because I'm gonna tell you honestly, Pat, it's not. Any club, it's not. So like what was your expectation and just picking your brain about that evaluation? Like, are they just putting on a show?
Uh, yes, for sure. For sure, part of it is, but I try to, at least when I went and do evaluations, I try to get away from, like, I know the grid, you want the points. I'm not talking about the points. I'm not talking about the grid. I'm talking about whether it's the field setup, whether it's the rotation, whether it's the timing, whether it's a scoreboard, whether it's, and I tried to get the TDs that were on the field with me, or the responsable de plateau that was on the field with me, to say, look, there's two parts to this right now. There's the written evaluation, or there's the actual score. Do you have a medical kit? Example, silly. Do you have a medical kit? It was 1 point, yes or no. But at some places, they had the Jean Coutu 999 medical kit with 100 kids on the field. So the answer is yes to the question.
Yeah.
You get your point on the evaluation. However, guy, seriously,
Yeah.
you have 100 kids on the field, you have this 999 trousse de soins, premier soins de Jean Coutu, like, relax, man.
Yeah.
You need to up your game here. You know what I mean? So I tried to go into those conversations to say, like, the evaluation is one thing, but I'm not here for the evaluation. I'm truly here to try to make your club better. In the little feedback, in the little window that I have right now,
Yeah.
I'm trying to make you guys better.
Did you feel, again, and it's very curious, and I did not know that you were evaluating. But another question I would have: did you find that you were treated more like the police or more like someone who was coming to give advice? Because I think that that's one of the things that the clubs are a little bit worried about. Because when I hear clubs talk about the club licensing program, it's like the police is coming. So, like, if we would have loudspeakers when Soccer Quebec comes and evaluate at our club, it would be Darth Vader playing. Dun, 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 dun. And that stigma bothers me so much, because the licensing program is supposed to be something that helps these clubs get better. And to
That's
get better, you don't need the police. You need people to tell you what you're doing wrong and how you need to fix it.
right.
Are the clubs worried too much, Pat, about checking off boxes instead of working on what's the product on the field?
I won't say all clubs, but for sure there's a certain part of that. And for sure, the federation needs to do a better job in saying, we're not coming as the police. We're coming to accompany you. We're coming to help you. We're coming to give you our opinion. But if our federation says, I have the truth and I'm the best and I know everything, there also needs to be a change of attitude a little bit from the top. And then, want it or don't want it, but people, it's a test, and their guards get up, and then it's up to the evaluator to diffuse things,
Yeah.
to say, relax, man,
Yeah.
relax. Let's all relax. We're gonna spend an hour here together. We're gonna spend 2 hours here together, and just let me point out certain things. And then, human nature. Some people get very defensive and want to justify. Some other people are open-minded and are listening. Some other people just pretend like they want to listen, yeah, and they stroke you a little bit so that they think it's going to help later on. So you get a little bit of everything, but where it's best is when you get to a club that's open-minded and says, okay, this point is valid. Let's implement it. Let's try to improve. This point is valid, but we can't do it because limited space, limited money, limited people, whatever. And maybe this thing I don't agree with, we're not going to put, which is okay, because again, it comes back down to, if you reflect on what you're doing and you can justify what you're doing, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I feel like we need to switch over to university, because that's what you do. That's what you spend your time on. I want to pick your brain regards, people who might not know university soccer. And again, to be very honest, I'm ashamed to say that I've never come and watch a Caravan game, and I will promise you that I will do so in the near future. How would you rate the caliber of university soccer here in Quebec? And how is it perceived by, like, let's say, recruiters, if we're talking pathways for these kids?
That's a loaded question. We can talk a long time. So, university soccer nowadays is not what it used to be 20 years ago or 25 years ago. It's not what it used to be. We have the athletes, we train every day. We have the athletes 10 months a year. We have bursaries. Almost every single player on our squad gets some money, or gets a
Yes.
bursary. Um, right now, we're actually ranked this week. We're ranked number one in the country.
Yes, that's why we put you on the show, Pat.
So the boys have done well and they've worked well. And anyways, we're ranked number one in the country. Uh, we've played 4 national finals in the last 5 years. So university soccer is a surprisingly good level. And I can speak for mine, right? I know what I do. I don't know
of
what my
course.
other colleagues do. I know what I do. We train every day. Our facilities, our medical staff, our dressing room, our field, our stadium. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
CF Montreal maybe has better. After that, I don't
There's not
know.
much more.
Um, we received it, like we have a team meal after every game. We wash the kids' clothes. We're like they're professionals,
Yeah.
except that they go to school because they're students and they're the future doctors, engineers, accountants of our society. Um, so university soccer is underrated, and it's underrated because of us a little bit, because we don't yell enough, we don't scream enough, we don't take the space that we should. It's underrated because the RCQ is a body that should have more leadership, that should have more presence in the milieu, that doesn't. It's university soccer is underrated, maybe because we're still stuck a little bit old school in CSA and the federation, where an athlete has to do soccer full time or studies, but you can't do studies and soccer. And I think that is a false reality in Canada and US. I think education is important for us. Our
Yeah.
kids are not living like they're not starving, and their families not in misery that they have to play pro to get out. That's not the reality of our kids. That's not the reality
Yes.
of our families. So to compare us that our kids can only do soccer and have to only do soccer, I think is wrong. I think for us, North America, and North America, I say more Canada, US, sport and education need to go together.
Yeah, that's a very thought out point. I did not know that. And another question that I would have to you now. Obviously, we know Canada is a big country, right? So, how is university soccer structured, where you guys can travel and play the other provinces? Like, I would assume traveling to, if you do, I'm thinking, let's say, not even all the way to BC, but if you go even further west, Saskatchewan, it's hard for these kids. How is it structured, and can it be better, or is just we're geographically too big to have it better?
So the fall season for us, which is August to November, our national championship is middle of November. The country is divided into 4 conferences. So obviously the Quebec Ontario conference is easier. It's easier for us to go play Carleton, go play Queens, go play even Toronto, Hamilton, York. Like those trips are easy. But we play a conference play. The country is divided in 4, and for a national championship, there's 2 teams per conference. And last year it was at Thompson River in BC. This year it's going to be at Cape Breton. So again, when I say that for us, when we won our national title, our first one in 2018, it was in Vancouver. The school invested. It cost us $100,000 just that trip for that week. And when you say how many clubs will invest $100,000 on one team for a national championship. So that type of investment is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that, so two schools from Quebec went. Two schools from Quebec this year are going to qualify for the nationals at Cape Breton, and it's going to cost us maybe not 100,000, but Cape Breton is still, it's still flights, it's still a week of hotels, it's
Yeah,
still
it's still logistics to work out for everybody, right?
absolutely,
It's a lot of
absolutely.
work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and they're invested. The universities, the Canadian universities, are invested in soccer. Now our pathway to the CPL, we started a relationship with CPL. We've had 4 drafts. I think this year will be our 5th CPL U Sport draft for CPL. We have a lot of players playing in CPL. They're finding the value of the U Sport player high because he comes in with good tools, he comes in with good ethics, he comes in with a decent ability. Waterman that plays right now um, for the CF Montreal, he played at Trinity Western, who played against us in 2017. So we do have players that could play at the next level.
Mhm.
But next level for us again is CPL, is MLS.
Yeah.
Next level, Milan is not waiting for the next offensive midfielder to come out of Quebec.
Yes.
They're not waiting for the next left back to come out of Quebec, right? They're
And
not,
yeah,
oh, please, a Quebecer. No.
yeah. It would be fantastic. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately,
of course.
it's unrealistic with
It's
the way
unrealistic.
unrealistic. So now that's a good segue to this next point, and question that I have for you, keeping again on the pathway because I think it's important. Uh, there's a lot of academies, there's a lot of showcases, there's a lot of things that are put up. It's I've never been before this year. I've never seen a showcase, and I went to one and I found it was fantastically organized, and there was universities and schools from both Canada and the US, but it was strictly looking at for US schools or Canadian schools. There is some also that lead you to a potential pathway to Europe. Are these empty promises or a money grab, or they're beneficial to these players?
So again, I'm going to try not to get in trouble here. So they're businesses. They're big businesses. They have the right to run a business. They have the right to generate funds. You're running a business and know that you're running a business. So now they have clients and the clientele is paying. So they're not at fault because the clientele, the milieu is saying that there's a need for that. Now, when we look at the details, what American schools are they being sent at? How much time is spent if it's a good fit? Do they go back and provide to say, okay, we've sent 15 kids to the state, we've sent 50 kids to the state, good. How many made the jump to MLS? How many made the jump that finished their education? How many have come back? Because even full scholarship, full rides are not full scholarships, are not full rides. The parent, like just recently, I hear one parent's going to go to a prep school, $75,000. Like, if you could, good for you, the more power to you. But if you have $75,000 to put in one of your kids for 2 years, 3 years to go to a prep school, to hope to go to a US school, to hope to maybe go to MLS draft, there's some good schools in Quebec. There's some good schools in Canada, whether it's prep schools, whether it's universities. So you don't need to spend all that money. And then if you're sending your kid, if the parent believes that they're sending their kid and it's going to get them closer to Real Madrid, it's going to get them a tryout at Porto, you guys are dreaming. But if you're sending your kid because he's a little bit too comfortable at home, he doesn't know his responsibility, he needs to learn how to cook a little bit of pasta, he's going to need to learn how to wash his clothes, and we need to help him grow up, absolutely send him. But if you're sending him with the intention that it's going to get him to MLS, it's going to get him to Juve, you're just wasting time. It's false dreams. It's a scam.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say scam and Juve in the same sentence, Pat. That's fantastic.
It just goes natural.
It just comes natural. All jokes aside, Pat, that's very well put. And again, it's something that you touched on earlier, and I hope I try my best to pass it on. For me, I try to tell these 10-year-olds, and I'm dealing with 10-year-olds, and if I talk to 11-year-olds, the same thing. My goal here is to make you a better person, a human, because real life is not this what you see right now. Real life is if you make a mistake in your work in the workforce, you're accountable for it, and accountability is lost right now because unfortunately these kids don't understand that. And
I'm just gonna sorry, Steve, just to cut you off on this, but we need the kids to dream.
yes,
You need to dream that it's possible, dream that you're gonna play next to Mbappe, dream that it's possible that you're gonna like. They still need to dream and be bright-eyed and be, while we need to keep the parents grounded. We need to stay grounded as the kid dreams, and eventually he's gonna figure it out the reality that, oh, you know how many gifted offensive midfielders there are in the world?
yeah,
So I'm not that special. Or how many gifted goalkeepers there are in the world? You know how many gifted goalkeepers are like just in Italy?
yeah,
Like, relax, man. And you think in Canada you're gonna end up calm, calm, calm. But dream about the World Cup. Dream
exactly.
about going
Dream.
to the Olympics. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. The other question I had for you is, we hear you said the CPL and so on and moving on. There's MLS next. Now, MLS next, Montreal, CF Montreal decided not to have an MLS next team. I'm just questioning whether that is a good idea or not, because I think they're one of two in the MLS that don't have an MLS next team. Is it financial? Is it because they can't? I'm not 100% sure. But is that something maybe that they missed the boat on, to give these kids, even after graduation, something to look forward to, and like you said, dream about, where it's not over. There is another avenue for the MLS, and it's this MLS next tournament.
Yeah, I think that it's 2 years now they're not in. I think next year they've also committed not to be in. But I think there's going to be, I think they need to get in. I think it's just a question of time, because in the pathway to the player, in the quality of the academy, the quality of players that they have right now in the academy, I think they'll have no choice but to get in. So now it's just a question of convincing Mr. Saputo, and we owe so much to that family, because if it wasn't for them, there would not be soccer in Quebec. So we owe that family so much. And I think it's just a question of presenting the project properly, presenting the project with some results, and finding a way. But I think they will need to get in. I don't think they can not get in for a foreseeable future, because it's a natural progression in the pathway of their player. So if
Exactly.
they're serious about the academy, they have to be serious about.
So you touched on the academy, and I have a question now. I know, again, you said dream as a player. I sometimes dream as a coach, right? And I think what would I do in this situation? What would I do in that situation? But academies, traditionally in Europe, it's pretty much it's an invitation, right? To this academy, you're getting invited, whether you could afford it or not. Here, we're at the best players go to the CF Montreal Academy. There's a big, humongous quotation where the best players that could afford to go to CF Academy go to CF Academy. Are they making a mistake with that, Pat? And should they relook at that?
So again, the model, I think they're trying to do a good job with our reality. So the reality of academies in Europe cannot compare to the reality of academies in for the MLS teams. It's a different world. It's completely different world. So I think they need to. How do you get? How do you make sure that the schools are good enough so that the families that education is important, they'll transfer and still go to the academy. How do we get it that the kids that can't afford it still go to the academy? Because I don't know very much about the academy, but I'm assuming it's several $1 million that they invest in the structure of the academy. That's still big money.
Yeah.
That's still, again, Mr. The Saputo family, like it's still big money that they're putting in the structure of youth in Quebec. So it's do they need to generate some pay as you go or pay to play programs that Milan doesn't have to do, that Real doesn't have to do, that Barca doesn't have to do? Yeah, but I think that's their reality.
Yeah.
I don't think they can. There's not enough sponsorship money. There's not enough investment. There's not enough possibilities to sell players
Mhm.
that they can do. They can offer the academy for completely free. Will we get there? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think right now they need to try out what's the right balance and to get the best talent. And again, what's best talent at 13 years old? Who can say with 13 years old is going to turn pro? Like
Nobody.
nobody. That's the reality. So you're taking guesses. So how do you balance that to try to get best? And best is subjective on is it is it is it athlete? Is it touch? Is it intelligent? Is it attitude? Is it left foot? Is it like what features make this kid best? And then how do you choose single best to be best as a team?
Yeah.
Because you can be all the best, but if you don't play as a team, there's no results.
Yeah.
And the better your team is, the better the individual value, the higher the individual value will be to eventually sell. Like it's complex. I don't think it's easy to sit back and criticize,
Oh, obviously, yes.
but I think they're in a dilemma, and then also the spacing of our 200,000 kids that are Quebec's a big
Big.
province.
Yeah.
So the reality of all that makes it's the Marinos has a big challenge
Yes. Yes.
for
It's
the
a big
academy.
challenge. Another question that I would have for you is, are we maybe looking at this, a little bit too complex and maybe dumb it down a bit where, Impact would use, local soccer clubs as, little hubs, little mini academies that they can, again, you would eliminate logistics, you would eliminate, and you would entrust, the CF Montreal way to these clubs so that they can be your little academies and they can give you a report. Because just quickly, I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, but it's funny we brought this up because I had a friend who, his girls were asked to go to the academy and to try out, and it was a fantastic opportunity for all the girls. Not one CF Montreal, I'm going to call them either educator or talent scouts, ever approached any of these coaches to ask them, how is this girl? Is she just having a bad day? Is it just too much pressure for her? No one approached them. No one asked them anything. And these are the guys that have been with these girls for 12, for their soccer career from 8 to 13, 14 years old. Are the MLS teams, and again, I'm picking on the CF Montreal because it's our town, but are they underestimating the local soccer club's importance in this journey?
So I will say since Gabby Gervais has taken over, the attitude towards clubs and towards the club coaches and towards the associations is starting to turn. I think his vision is one that includes the clubs, includes the club coaches, includes the regions, the associations. So I think he's trying to repair years and years of bad relationship, of bad information back and forth. So I think we have to give them the time now because they've changed the last 2 years, 3 years. They've changed a lot of leadership there at the academy, and we have to give them the time to get back. Excuse me, to rebuild these bridges, rebuild these channels of communication. But of course, who better knows the athlete than the coach that's been with her for the last 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
And it's even just respectful to ask the coach, "Hey, what do
Yeah,
you think? Tell me
and it
about
would
your
be it would
coach."
be kind of like a success on his part. If I put
Absolutely.
myself in his shoes, wow, he's asking me for my input. We're amazed, Pat, all the time at combine stories. I'm a sports junkie, Pat. I love sports. I follow the combine. I follow NHL combine. Any combine, I would love to go to the combine, not to actually perform physical activity, but to watch and just to understand their processes. Like, these guys are asking all the questions. Why can't we do the same? And yeah, you might catch some coaches that might not be able to give you the answer that you're looking for, but other coaches are going to be able to give you, hey, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should look at that with the other girl. So I think a cooperation would be best served for the girls or the boys that are under this microscope, right?
Yeah, Steve, I'll tell you a quick story. It's at every level. So I won't name them, but so a CPL team eventually calls me and asks me about my backup goalkeeper because they're looking for a goalkeeper, and they eventually call me to ask me about my backup goalkeeper. And my first question to them was, if you're looking for a goalkeeper, don't you want my starter? Don't you want my number one? Like, you're asking me about my backup. How about my number one? And like, they were insulted that, well, no, I'm calling about him. I said, I know you're calling about him, but he's not starting for us.
Yeah,
My other guy is better. Like, if you're looking for the best goalkeeper available, my starter
it's
should
him.
be. But no, no trust or no respect that we were playing the better of the two goalkeepers. And that's at every level.
Yeah.
So they took him and released him 6 months later. Well, I could have saved you all that time and all that
Yeah,
money.
exactly, exactly. Pat, we're an hour in, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot to do. So I have just a couple of more questions. One serious one, and then a couple of ones that for to get to have people out there on internet land know Pat Raimondo does have a sense of humor and just doesn't scream and swear. Okay. The serious one, Pat, is, and I love to ask coaches this, especially yourself with a lot of experience. If you could go back and tell your younger self something that would help you today in your coaching career, what would you tell yourself?
Without a doubt, without a doubt, don't burn bridges. So in my young career, I thought I knew it all. I thought I fight anybody. There wasn't a fight I didn't want. There wasn't a battle I wasn't ready to go in. And the late Dick LeBron, one time he was president of the Lakers, and his words ring so true to me right now. He says, "Don't burn every bridge you cross, because once in a while you need to go back." So if I had to go back to my younger coaching self, I would definitely say not to burn as many bridges early in my career as I did. Now I don't give a
Yeah,
crap anymore.
yeah.
Now my career's done. I am who I am, and you love me or you hate me, but that's who it is. But earlier in my career, I would pay more attention to the relationships.
Now the fun questions. We ask you some quick questions, one word answers, very simple. We're gonna put it out there again 2 times in the same show. Pat is a Milanista, so I'm not gonna ask him his favorite team. But if I could ask you the team you dislike the most,
It has to be the red and black for sure. The white and black for sure.
the white and black for sure.
For sure.
Uh, if I know coaching is very personable, but if you would have to say someone who inspired you, at the professional level, like someone that you looked at things and said, "Wow, I like the way he does it. Maybe I could try something." Who would that be?
Arrigo Sacchi for sure. He's the first coach that inspired me to understand that um, if you work with principles, players can come and go. As long as your principles are right and solid, it doesn't matter who's playing left back, who's playing right back. So, of course, it helps when you have Davids, Van Basten, Maldini,
Yeah,
Gattuso. So it helps, of course. But for sure, Arrigo Sacchi is one of the first. Capello, not far behind. A lot of the Italian coaches are inspiring. Are inspiring to me.
nice. And if I would ask you your favorite player,
Maldini for sure is up there. Buffon when he wears the national jersey. Gattuso, I loved Gattuso. I was just telling Marcello before. Italy doesn't win the World Cup without Gattuso. Their last World Cup, I don't think they win it without Gattuso. But yet, like he's not an exceptional player.
no,
But what he brings to a team, what he brings to the field, I love Gattuso.
yeah. It's what he brings to the team. He's not an exceptional player, but what he brings to the team is exceptional because there's not a lot of people that would want to do that.
That are ready to do that for their teammates. Absolutely, absolutely. And I love them as a coach too.
Yeah, he
Straight
was
shooter.
straight shooter. Needs to work a little bit on the tactics, but straight shooter. Uh,
Press
if I can,
conferences where you're hilarious.
one last question, the most important of them all, before I let you go. Pat, you get home from a long day on the field. You're ready to eat with the family. You're having pasta. It's penne lisce or penne rigati?
Legati,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
100%.
Pat, I want to thank you so much for taking the time in the middle of your day. Have a great rest of the day. Good luck to you and the university going forward. I promise I will try to make it out there to watch a game. Pat, thank you again for all your knowledge. I hope we can keep in touch. Uh, Tell them how they can come and watch the games, Pat.
Well, we're at home on Sunday. Friday we're at UCAM, but on Sunday we're receiving Three Rivers 1 o'clock kickoff at the stadium. Brand new field. We just changed the turf, so 1 o'clock. Tickets on site. You can show up, and it's a fun atmosphere. It's a fun game.
Fantastic. Pat, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for chiming in. Guys, please like, subscribe, Milan Weekly Podcast channel. We'll bring you the local soccer show every second Thursday. And hopefully Pat will be kind enough to share his Rolodex of contacts so we can increase the guests that we bring on. Thank you to Evangelista. Guys, ovunque e sempre, because Pat's a Milanista. Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.